Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Business Over Breakfast. And it's Tuesday, and that means that I am joined today by Lori Jatari from Visual Thrive. Hey, Lori.
Hi, Ben. Good morning.
Good morning. And once again, Justin is running around catching up on 4 months of jobs.
Keeping branded environments safe.
Yes, absolutely. So hopefully, Justin, as always, has the link, and hopefully he will be on today. And we're going to start the show for a couple minutes by bringing on somebody who is doing some incredible work in the community, and we are fortunate enough to be working with her to put on a big event on Thursday morning. So I wanted to, without further ado, bring on Deb Burton from RI Elder Info. Hey, Deb.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Doing a big event on Thursday.
Yeah, so please tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, thank you very much for Lieutenant Governor's assistance in calling all Veterans Day, our tech support in line, which will be awesome. But Thursday at 10 a.m. On RI Elder Info's Facebook page, we are hosting Calling All Veterans Day. It's a virtual conference for veterans of all eras, their families, and those who may take care of them. I have expert speakers that will be presenting on a ton of resources that will help individuals age independently. Super important these days in the age of COVID. So many people want to be able to stay home for as long as possible, which is, just to back up a little bit, I'm the founder and creator of RI Elder Info. It's the only comprehensive multilingual resource for seniors, caregivers, and professionals in Rhode Island. So rielderinfo.com is the website. We are a 501c3, and our mission is all about getting people the information that they need in a manner that they can digest. So it's not written at, some high level tech experience. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
And the website is an award-winning website for innovation and been named 50 on Fire, Providence Business News Most Innovative Company in the social service category. But we're all about getting information out to people in whatever way that they might need it. And COVID kind of changed. Calling All Veterans Day was supposed to be held at the URI Ryan Center May 9th. And COVID came along and said, oh, no, you can't have more than 10 people together. And we knew that, we were already planning on having roughly 100 vendors. So that blew us out of the water.
Yeah.
So like so many other organizations, we had to pivot. And now we're trying to reach people online.
And we are happy to help you be reaching those people online.
Yeah,
so thank you very much for that opportunity. Lori, you said that you've been watching some stuff that Deb's been doing for a while.
Yeah, I just realized, good morning, Deb. Thanks for joining us. I just realized that it was the 50 on Fire, because Visual Thrive also won the 50 on Fire Innovation Award for new to the market. When it was probably a couple of years ago, at least, when Visual Thrive broke ground, let's say. And and I remember seeing your work, and of course having older parents and wondering, I'm sorry about the notifications. I know that I'm not going to try and turn them off right now. I did can you hear that? Those
a little bit. Don't worry about it. It's just Justin. He sent a text that said, "Oh God, it's Tuesday."
Oh, okay. All right,
yeah.
Good. Yeah. His big interview. So I have older parents, and I would love to ask you right now, when you say age independently, like what do people think about when their parents are living and want to stay in their homes? I mean, that's a big question, I know, but are there like some top 3 things that families should think about? And I'll give you a second part of this question. I was Rhode Island's founding creator for Connected Warriors, which is trauma conscious yoga for veterans and their families and service members. And so for probably 4 or 5 years, I was teaching a once-a-week yoga class at Camp Fogarty for veterans and their families.
Wow.
So I think, yeah, I know a smidgen probably of the camaraderie and the family-centric ideals that veterans, hold dear. So I'm just curious about like what the focus is on this event that you're having.
Wow, that was a lot of questions.
I know. I'm so sorry. I
So
just told you we were going to be on. I wasn't prepared for this. So I was like, Deb, I have a lot of questions for her.
I get that a lot. So it's funny, we don't think about our parents aging until usually a crisis. And what you want to do is maybe have that dialogue and realize that things that will help keep them safe are things that can also help you stay safe. So I would say, number one, plan much further in advance than you ever thought you would need. So right now, everybody over 18 should have a healthcare power of attorney in effect. Somebody that you have named who, in the event you're not able to make your own decisions, can make those decisions for you and have conversations about it. What is important to you? Quality of life, quantity of life, all those little details. And it sounds strange, but I always say, usually over like a Thanksgiving dinner when the whole family's there is a great time to have that conversation, because then everybody's on the same page. But I would say in the era of COVID, you want to have those conversations sooner. Don't wait for Thanksgiving. So that's number one. I tell everybody. Number two is you want to, for your parents, prevent a fall. Falling is the number one reason for entry into long-term care. So that might mean picking up the throw rugs, which a lot of people already know. It's going to mean potentially putting in the grab bars in the bathroom, which a lot of times people push back and like, oh, I don't want those big silver bars or the big white bars in the bathroom. They're ugly and people will think like I'm old. Okay. The reality is what happens when you're in the shower. Now think about this. Think about this in reality. Like you soap yourself all up and then you soap your feet and then you turn around in the shower on soapy feet. Now you're more likely to fall. Yeah. And what do? We grab the soap holder, which is really only held in with grout. And so when we go flying, we land on the floor with the soap holder still in our hands. You don't think about these things.
Yeah, so that's a good visual to think about. Ooh.
Yeah. And so when you put in grab bars, they have grab bars that are aesthetically pleasing. Mm-hmm. So they look more like the soap holder. They don't look like the big industrial bars. Yeah. So it can be aesthetically pleasing. The other big one that everybody needs to be aware of also is something called polypharmacy. And polypharmacy is when you're taking medicine A that has side effects, so you take medicine B, and then you take medicine C. And then you throw in something along the lines of Benadryl or an over-the-counter med. And you don't realize how all these things interact. So the best way that I explain it, I think, to visualize it is like a day like today where we've got the storm coming, your arthritis aches. And so you take that pain medication exactly as prescribed. You don't do anything wrong. You do just what the bottle says. So you take that pain medication because your knee is killing you. Okay. And then, God, the sinus pressure is unbelievable with the humidity. So now I take the Benadryl. All right, I don't sleep well at night because after a certain age, so often we have to get up in the middle of the night to go pee. So now I take my sleeping pill. I now have 3 drugs on board that are going to leave me kind of loopy. And what happens to us? In the middle of the night, despite the sleeping pill, you still have to pee. And so you get up quick, which can leave your head spinning to begin with. You're in a hurry, trying to get to that bathroom quick. And you've got these meds on board, which makes everything loopy. And down you go. So it's to really be aware of it.
I would also say, sometimes people have different doctors. And so,
Yes.
you get one medication from one doctor and then you go to the dentist and have your tooth pulled or something and they give you
Yes.
a little pain medication, and then
Yep.
you have different doctors saying for this, the response is this pharmaceutical, and they're not really seeing the full picture of what one person is dealing with because
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
only, like a knee pain or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so one of the things I like to do is to refer people to the things that are free or inexpensive to solve problems first, or at least take a look at whether or not they can solve the problem.
Yeah.
So I tell people, take all your meds, your prescribed medication, your over-the-counter medication, your vitamins, your supplements, your minerals, throw them all in a bag, take them to your pharmacist and ask him or her to review it. And the pharmacist can't change the medication you're on, but the pharmacist can look at and say, all right, maybe you don't want to take this cold medicine because you do have medication here for heart disease. And those are not a good combination. It can elevate your heart rate.
Right.
So maybe you want to take this over the counter instead. Or perhaps you don't want to take, your water pill at 3:00 in the afternoon and take your sleeping pill at 8. You want to talk to your doctor about realigning times that work better for you. So your pharmacist can't change your drugs, but they can give you suggestions to talk to your doctor about.
And I can imagine, like, would someone need an appointment? Because I can imagine, I mean, if anyone walks into CVS and says, I need to have a consultation with the pharmacist, the response is probably going to be, we are really busy. So I'm just wondering, like, how
it's better to call and give them that heads up, particularly in the age of COVID, because you want to make sure that they have time to really look at all this stuff. But it is a free service, and knowing the chemical compounds and interactions is what pharmacists go to school for. Like, they're the expert in it.
And is that what you call polypharmacy? Sorry, Ben.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
That is polypharmacy is when you have multiple medications that you're taking for multiple reasons. Poly meaning many, pharmacy meaning your medications.
So first of all, this is all information that I wish that I had talked to you years ago about, because as I'm sure many people that listen right now and listen in the future are thinking, because my mom has for years had a list of prescriptions that was two notebook pages written out full, all simultaneously, and a dozen different doctors, and it was insane. And I found out because she was having problems like taking the right ones, taking them at the right time, sometimes dropping a pill because she had 20 of them in her hand, and what we did was we were going to, there's a local pharmacy in Westerly called McQuaid's that has the pods. So you bring them, you do exactly what you just said. You take all of your medications, you bring them to the pharmacist, they sit down with you, they go through everything, they line up exactly when you're supposed to take it, and they put them in little AM, PM pods. And then it's like the sorters, but you don't have to do anything. The pharmacist sets it up for you, and you get it directly in that, which is fantastic. Also, a note about the planning that you talked about, and I think that some people might hear you say, if you're an adult over 18, you should have a plan in place, and think that's unrealistic. That's worrisome. That is not, we don't need that. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like when you hit like 50, you should start to think about it.
Hey.
But
No.
But I just want to say, at 20 years old, 20, 21 years old, whatever it was, during the last pandemic, came down with H1N1, and within 3 days went from being healthy to being on a ventilator for 2 weeks and having a tracheostomy, which you can see the scar right here, and them asking my parents, like I got sick on like the 29th of October, and on Halloween night they're asking my parents, does he have a plan in place? What does he want? Does he want like
Wow.
life? So and that's not even like, that's an illness that is not similar in some ways to the pandemic that we're dealing with right now, which is but accidents happen, car accidents happen. Like my sister, we didn't have the choice, but her friend, my sister, died at 17 in a car accident, and her best friend, who was driving, once again was on life support. Their parents had to answer all of those questions. She was 18. So anything can happen at any time, and it's really important to put a plan in place. Absolutely. And I couldn't be more of an advocate for what you said to start the show. And then in addition to that, parents, as you age, things that people don't know and don't think about, like if you have to go on Medicaid to go into long-term care, your kids don't just like get your house. Like there's a whole situation there where you have to spend down your finances and whatever you have saved. And both of my parents earlier this year had medical issues, severe medical issues, right before COVID, literally starting January 1st. My dad ended up on a ventilator for 2 weeks and is now in a nursing home. My mom had some falls, ended up and they're both in a nursing home together, and it's a very nice story, but they had no plan in place. And for 6, 7, 8 months now, I've been scrambling as their only child to figure out what to do in this situation, and to figure out lawyer situations, and to figure out like what's going to happen now with their house, and like it's a mess, and it all could have been very easily fixed if we did a little bit of planning years ago. Just a little bit of planning would have been everything would have been fine.
Ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure, and there's still some opportunities there that you might want to explore, and we can talk about that separately. But
Sure.
I think it's one of those things that there's a belief that people will automatically qualify for Medicaid, and they don't. And that's the other thing is, if I had a dime for every time somebody told me Medicare covers long-term care, I could have a house down on Ocean Road. So there's a difference between Medicare and Medicaid. If you think of Medicare, we care for our aging and our disabled. We aid Medicaid our poor. So Medicaid is income-based. Unfortunately, a lot of times our elderly are both. In Rhode Island, your assets are $4,000 or less. And there's some things that can be set aside that are not counted as assets. And you speak to an expert on that. But the average nursing home, the average, and that doesn't say, its quality, is $312 per day. And so, what can happen for folks is you have that fall out of the shower. You break your hip, which is your statistical probability because your hip constitutes also part of your butt. We tend to land on our butt. So you have the broken hip, you go in, get your hip redone, you go to the facility for some rehab, you get there, and that first day, they're like, physical therapy, come on, let's go, yay! And all of a sudden it's like, are you kidding me? I haven't slept since I fell on the floor. They don't let you sleep in the hospital. You crazy? I'm not getting up. All right, so that's day one. And day two, they come in like, I'm in a new bed. I didn't sleep. Everything hurts. I just had surgery. No, I'm not getting up for PT. That's day two. And then day three, come on, you got to get up. You got to do stairs. I have been in this bed for a couple of days now. Everything hurts. I'm not getting up. That's 3 days that you have now refused. Medicare is going to say you're refusing coverage. You're refusing care. So therefore, you must not need it. You're eligible to be discharged home. And now you and your family are saying, discharge home? No. Bathroom's upstairs. What are you talking about? Discharge home. Well, you can stay. You can stay to the tune of $312 per day. Now, are you ready to whip out your checkbook? Some people can, and some people do, and that's great. Then if not, the question is the facility that you're in, do they accept Medicaid? Do they have a Medicaid bed available for you to be able to stay there? And then you need to apply. And in theory, the application process takes about 90 days to go through, in theory. So you have that limbo where, they're reasonably certain that you would be covered. But even in that time period, if you did have assets, there are ways to protect some of your assets, but you need to speak to an elder law attorney who specializes in estate and Medicaid planning. Not just any attorney, but somebody who really knows it, because there are some specific things that can be done to protect some of those assets. And that service does not come cheap, because now it's crisis planning.
Yep.
Are these the kind of things that you review? So your event is virtual, is that?
Yes.
I'm guessing.
Yes.
And so do you review, where do you find the information for, I'm interested in this subject, and how do people sign up? Because I think about, and I'm sure you hear 1,000 stories like this, right? My grandmother was perfectly fine, 102 years old, living at East Bay, and had a stroke. And what do? No plan. I mean, really, the feeling was she's 102 and she's happy and safe and doing fine. And this is, the end of her life, because she's 102. And the day after her birthday, she has a stroke and can't stay at East Bay Manor. And that was a big one. So that has really pushed me to speak to both of my parents about, I don't want to be, you need to tell me, because I did not like that. But I think, it is, we're all thinking about this, especially now. And so I guess I would just say, where do we find, I know you have a great website, is all the information there. But I'd love to hear a little bit about how people are getting the education they need around this.
It seems, obviously, raelderinfo.com. And there's a ton of information. It's easy to navigate, and it gives you the high level. A lot of times people rely on the words of their friends, and their friends are not the ones who are experts in this. So my background is in gerontology. I have a master's degree in gerontology, which is the biological, psychological, and social aspects of aging. Plus, I kind of nerd out to all things around aging. So some people are really into sports or knitting or gardening. I'm really into studying aging and how it's impacting our lives. So that's what I nerd out about. Calling All Veterans Day on Thursday is specifically for veterans of all eras. So when you think about veterans, we have the World War II era veterans. So they're probably 80s, 90s, 100 years old. They or their spouses may not realize that they may be eligible for what's called the aid and attendance benefit, which is a benefit that the VA pays eligible veterans to help them remain independent in the community. Especially the spouses don't realize that they're eligible for that. There's currently a big push for the Vietnam era veterans to return to the VA healthcare system, because when they first came home, they were pushed aside. They were told things that were not correct, believed to be correct at the time back in the 60s and 70s, but things like PTSD isn't real. Well, now we know PTSD is real, and it is service connected. So they are asking our Vietnam vets to please come back to the healthcare system. We have the Vet Center, the Providence VA will be one of our speakers. The newly appointed director of the Providence VA is going to be one of our speakers. We have the Office of Veteran Services, Director Yarn will be speaking, because there's a lot of resources for veterans, available in the state, and his office can help people get connected. His office is also the one that you would speak to in relation to the Veterans Cemetery, as well as the Bristol Veterans Home.
That's
So we
great.
also have Dora.
I know that the Rhode Island VA, because of my work in yoga,
Mhm.
has one of the 4 holistic health centers inside of the Providence VA. And I know Director Yarn was a big part of that, as well as obviously the doctors at the VA. But it's really a unique and wonderful program to look holistically at how or what people need.
Yeah. It's so I have a few other speakers coming in. One of the barriers to care for seniors is pet care. They won't go in for surgery because there's nobody to watch their dog or cat. They won't go in for substance use or mental health treatment. It's the same thing. Nobody watched their dog. For veterans, there is an organization called Dogs on Deployment that they will foster their animals for free. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have dog, cat, horse, peacock, spider, snake. Also, any active duty military who are being deployed. I also will have Rachel Garcia, she is one of the federally recognized experts in veterans benefits in Rhode Island. And I'll have Paul Santilli from the Vet Center. They specialize in Vietnam era veterans and their families, as well as more recent wars. So it's going to be on Facebook. It's going to be on the RI Elder Info Facebook page, live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Specifically streaming to Facebook because older adults are more likely to utilize Facebook and YouTube. So thought behind that too. So across the board, it's trying to reach out to meet the needs of veterans. Coming up in the fall, I am putting together a senior resource fair similar to what Congressman Cicilline has done and Congressman Langevin have done in the past in senior centers, where I'll also live stream that. I need to handle Thursday first, and then move forward. And we are a 501c3, so we also are dependent on donations and sponsors and getting funding and all those other fun pieces. On an ongoing basis, I started about 3 weeks ago what I call Friday Friends. At 9:00 on Friday, I interview small nonprofits that need to get the word out about the amazing things that they're doing. So I'm all over the place sharing information as widely as I can to help people stay independent for as long as possible, or support the caregivers.
We do that too. You came to the right place. That is a real, I mean, I think this morning time, is such a great opportunity. So I mean, of course, we'll share this with our networks.
Awesome.
Yeah, I wish you the best.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad Ben invited me. This is amazing.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for asking and reaching out to the Lieutenant Governor's office. I thought it was I was so like I got a letter. I got an email that was directed to the Lieutenant Governor's office that said, "Can we borrow Ben?" And I was like, huh.
Ben is very expensive.
Interesting.
I see what you do with the Lieutenant Governor's feeds, and I think it's absolutely amazing. And we've had that dialogue about how you do it. So I love what you do.
Thank you. I thought I was like, I didn't understand that I was somebody that I didn't understand I could be loaned out. I was like,
Ben, sharing is caring.
No. I love to work with literally everybody. I just thought I was like, oh, this is interesting. Somebody sent an email to the Lieutenant Governor of Rhode Island and asked to borrow me.
Sorry.
No. That was literally one of the most flattering emails that I've ever gotten in my life. And I thought that was funny because most people will like just say like, "Can I have Ben's contact info?" And just the way you worded it was so charming. So thank you very much for that. And I love the Friday Friends. That's incredible. And we talk a lot about, so Lori and the rest of the team over at rismallbusiness.org and the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition, they talk a lot about the small businesses, and a lot of people ask about the nonprofits as well. And it's a really wide net, and it's hard to always encompass everybody. And but the nonprofits need so much help right now, in as well as the small businesses. And I love what you're doing, and I love what you're doing on Fridays. So thank you so much for all of that, Deb. And
Thank you.
I will talk to you soon, because we have work to do to get ready for Thursday.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Great to see you, Deb.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
How was that, Lori?
We're done.
Yeah.
That was great. That was great. I love, I really like the idea of saying, just think of these three things, because that opens up a whole Pandora's box of questions and taking a look at someone's environment. We have a client that is McCormick Home Improvement, and they are certified in aging in place. And so they know like all the things within someone's home that will allow them to be safe in their home. And that is really, really important.
Absolutely. And yeah, I would love to get Deb back on sometime to talk about like marketing nonprofits, because I think that that's a fascinating subject.
Right.
That obviously today, like, we wanted to promote Thursday's big event, because that's going to help a ton of people in Rhode Island.
Right.
So we wanted to talk about that, but it would be really interesting to talk and dive into the business of a nonprofit and the marketing of a nonprofit and how to grow a nonprofit. And she's done an amazing job with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very different. I used to be the director of development for Rhode Island Legal Services, and you can kind of see the differences in, nonprofits operate differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good to see you, though. I'm happy to see you this morning.
You too. And is there anything that you want to? Obviously, you keep wanting to put Justin on the hot seat, and he keeps avoiding you.
He's afraid.
He's afraid. He's afraid to answer the questions. He's
I
fine with
I had all my questions ready too.
Oh man! So we promised Justin. You know what? If Justin can do tomorrow or Thursday at 9, I'm open to it, Justin.
All right.
But we want to just let you know we're on a ton of different pages right now. Check this out. Check out shoplocalrhodeisland.com and the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Check out the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition. Join the coalition if you own a small business or care about small businesses.
We did a whole bunch of video interviews yesterday of 5 different small businesses, and we interviewed the lieutenant governor. And so we're putting together those small business stories that we really want people to tell. So I would say contact me if you want to tell your story. I've already made that request in the Shop Local Rhode Island newsletter. But I think a lot of what we heard yesterday, if businesses weren't thinking about this, I think that they will be able to really take ideas from other businesses in this effort of sharing knowledge and working together and getting better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, Deb, I know you're still on. Can you let Wayne know that I did see him in the other, and I will be there in just a second. We have to do the testing for Thursday right now with all of the speakers. So that's in another stream. And Wade is good. I just have to get to him in a second. Lori, can you let everybody know where they can find out more about Visual Thrive and more about Shop Local Rhode Island? And I'll let you end the show. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us all. And we'll be here every Tuesday with Lori. So thank you.
Every Tuesday.
Tuesdays with Lori.
Tuesdays with Lori. Oh, right. I like that. I think so. Visual Thrive is visualthrive.com. And Shop Local Rhode Island is shoplocalrhodeisland.com. And either one of those websites, you can contact me directly. And I would really love businesses to just jump on our Tuesday morning and do some business talk and coaching. And what are you thinking about for your business? If we can help and spread the wealth, we will do it. So join us. Thanks. Have a great day.